Today we are going to discuss about the configurations. Please confirm whether you're able to hear my voice and view the presentation and comment it through the chat. Well, thank you. So here we go. This is the training schedule and we are in week 5. And this is going to be for configurations training. And the below URL has a recording of the previous webinars which has been completed. And about me, I'm going to be your trainer for today's configuration. And let's go ahead with the agenda for today's training. So we are going to deal with the configurations. So in order to achieve all kind of the configurations with the USB device management and the printers and all the Windows configurations, we need the agent to be installed in the machine. So we'll also look into that going towards the configuration module. And followed by we have the scenarios and solutions. Most commonly known identified scenarios and solutions would be discussed over here. And at the end of that, we will also discuss about some commonly raised questions from our customers. And so this training has been created by having the basic advanced users in mind. So you may be having more information about the configurations and setting up of Desktop Central. Well, so going towards the operating system, as you know, so we are supporting Windows, Mac, and Linux. And let's have a quick recap about the Desktop Central architecture. So Desktop Central is going to be managed for LAN, WAN, and even for the roaming users. And this is going to be a client and server model. So Desktop Central Server can be installed in all these various network types. And installing the Desktop Central agent is going to be just a one-time job, which we are going to discuss about in this configuration. So this could be managed with having the distribution server in the remote office without the distribution server, and similarly to manage the mobile users. So in order to manage everything, we need to open certain ports. We have a list of prerequisite ports, and the ports requires to be opened from the Desktop Central Server install machine and firewall in order to make the smooth communications. And during the agent server communications, we have a 90 minutes refresh policy. So this 90 minutes refresh policy has been created in order to ensure that agent is contacting the server at the given period of time. So this process will ensure that all the computers in the network contact the server periodically. And we have two important factors over here having this 90 minutes refresh policy. Number one, the network is not choked by the agent communication, meaning that the bandwidth is not disturbed during the agent and server communications. Number two, the performance of the server is not affected at any time. So server has the intelligence to ensure that the systematic streamlined communication from all the agent at regular interval time. Fine. So to make it more precise and easy to understand, I'm going to just put across a scenario or just for an instance. So let's assume that we have a network of 90 computers. So one computer will reach out the Desktop Central Server per minute. And if it is going to be 900 computers, so 10 computers will reach out the Desktop Central Server per minute. And similarly, if it is going to be a large network of 9,000, then 100 machines will reach out the server per minute. So this would help you to make the process without affecting your network. Fine. So as we already discussed about talking about the configuration part, so as I mentioned earlier, in order to achieve all the configurations, we need the agent to be installed. So let's go how to set up the Desktop Central Server and deploy the agents. So as you see, the list is given over here for agents to be managed on LAN, WAN, roaming users, and how to ensure that the agents are automatically installed to the target machines. So let me take you to the product to show you with a quick scenario. So I'm the administrator of the company, and the company has given me a task to manage our office network. And we have 3 different locations, including the head office. So my head office is in Chicago, and I have 2 other locations of San Francisco and New York as our branch offices or remote offices. Similarly, we do have some Salesforce. They connect from different locations, and they will not be connecting us to the VPN. So I need to even manage those users. So let me show you how to set up everything. So after you install the Desktop Central server, please come to the Admin tab, and you'll be able to see Scope of Management, which is the gateway of Desktop Central, from where we are going to discover the objects by adding the domain. And you may also have an option of accessing quickly, choosing this flash icon with computers. So it may take you to the computers, and click on the Add Computers. And here we go. We have an Add Domain. So Desktop Central is capable of managing both network types like Active Directory, Workgroup, multiple Active Directory, and multiple workgroups. All we need to do is just furnish the details over here, and let me quickly show how this works. So here we go. So this is my network. I've already been provided the details. So specify all the information accordingly, and ensure that you provide a domain admin account, or any account which falls under the domain admin group should be provided here. So using this account, we are going to help you to install the agent on LAN. And similarly, we are going to interact with the Active Directory to read all the AD objects. So here we go. So using this account, it's going to read the Active Directory, the domain controller, and show up all the details about what are the informations like the OU groups, computers, users, and everything. So all we need is the agent to be installed only for the computers, not for the users. And similarly, even if you want to manage machines based upon the names, we can go ahead and you'd be able to see the alphabetical order. So the machines will be shown up with alphabetical order, and you can choose the machines, and that will be added. Once it's added, we can start the agent installation, and that will show all the machines over here. You can see all the machines over here. It will be listed. So now I'm going to show you how to start manage machines on the LAN. So we have 3 different methods to install the agents. Number 1, pushing it from the console. So choose the machines, install the agent. That is going to help you to install the agent to the target machine successfully and silently without interacting the user. And even after the agent is installed, it is going to come back showing that the agent is successfully installed without rebooting the target machine. In case if anything failed during the process, you would be able to see in the remarks, and you have a column chooser to enable your required columns, and moreover you can also change the columns according to your choice. So this will show the agent install status, and even if you have some sort of machines where the agent installation has failed, you can also see those details over here with the agent installation process. Well, so now we have seen about installing the agent on LAN with the method 1. Number 2, we have a download method. So it's a typical download method where you can download the agent to a common network share folder from where all the client machines are accessible on the LAN. You can take remote using an RDP of MSTSC or any other tool. You can install the agents, or you may export this agent file. It's going to be a 20 MB of file. You can export this file to an external media like USB devices or DVD. You can use that medias in order to install the agent to the target machines. And number 3, so we have another option of installing the agents using the GPO policy. So we have given you the instructions along with the script. So you can make use of this in order to install the agents even through the GPO. Fine. So when we are pushing the agents using the first method, the agent installation will be taken in a batch process. So it will take first 10 machines and it will deploy the agent, and going forward it will go with the next amount of the agents, and it will start installing the agent successfully. So By this process, we would be able to help you to install the agents on the LAN. WAN. So as I already mentioned, I do have another couple of remote offices where I need to go and manage. So I'm just taking you to the remote office, and we have two different remote offices, as you already mentioned. So we have a San Francisco as well as the New York office. So in order to manage my remote office, all I need to do is just go to the remote office, specify the remote office name. Your server IP address followed by the ports will be shown over here. And here we are going to deal with two different communication types. So we recommend to have the machines more than 10 in a remote site, then please go with the distribution server model. If you're managing machines less than 10, you can have the direct communication. So we have two different options to manage. And when it's going to be a distribution server model, we have to specify the distribution server machine. So we don't require any prerequisite hardware software to manage a machine on the remote office to act as a distribution server. A normal workstation, a desktop, is capable to managed as a distribution server. And it requires these ports, ensure that these ports are open, and it's going to contact with the desktop central main server for every 2 minutes of time. And you may also choose the data transfer rate used based upon your choice. So this will ensure that your bandwidth is not affected. So that is the objective of having distribution server. And to make it easy to understand, assume that I'm having 10 machines in direct communication, and I want to push a 5 MB of a patch to my target machine. So when I'm pushing this 5 MB of the patch to my target machine in the remote office, which is operated under the direct communication, meaning that all the 10 machines will talk to the desktop central server separately. So this 5 MB will get replicated to all those 10 machines, and my bandwidth used is 50 MB. When I'm taking you back to the distribution server model, if we are implementing the distribution server in the same office, now this 5 MB of patch will get replicated to only one machine which is acting as a distribution server. So eventually we are saving 45 MB of our bandwidth. So that's the objective of having distribution server. And for direct communication, we don't need much information. So you can come down, choose whether you'd like to go with a proxy, like secure mode. And if you are connected to the proxy, just configure it accordingly. So we do have a dedicated remote control. You can get the details from the help card. Coming down, so we have an option of installing the agents automatically on the direct connection as well as the distribution server. So we can install the agents automatically. Before that, it's time to choose the machine. So go ahead, select what are the machines you want to add. You can just choose the machines accordingly, and you'll be able to see the green and the blue icon. So the blue icon represents the machines already been managed. So we may not be able to choose it. So in such condition, just choose the hide managed computer. So it will hide the managed machines and show only the unmanaged machines. So I can just choose the machines. I can also add the machine names using this option. And if I'm not able to get the details, I can also use an import option. So we have an example CSV, as you could see here. Open a notepad file, type in all the machine names which you're planning to manage in the remote site, save it as a CSV, import it, so by which we can also add the machines. Once it's added, then please go down and add the credential. Specify your credential name like a distribution server admin. Choose your domain administrator like the domain name. Provide an account which has an administrator privilege on the remote office. So using this credential, we are going to push the agents on the remote office, and that is going to get installed successfully. So by which we can manage the remote offices. So this is how we are going to manage the remote offices. And now, as you already mentioned, I do have few Salesforce. Those are working across the country without any VPN connectivity. So I need to manage even those users using Desktop Central. Well, I'm going to do the add remote office, specifying the remote office name, and I'm just going to provide a public IP because those users are away from my office network. They're not connected to my domain. They are completely out of my office, though they are my domain, but they are not connected to my network at all. Still, I want to manage. So in such conditions, I need to declare a public IP with a proper NAT settings. So providing a public IP or a fully qualified domain name will help me to reach that machine. And when I create a remote office like that, and that should be always direct communication, all the roaming users, like the workforce, those who are spread across the nation or to the different country across the globe, if you want to manage them, then it's always recommended to go with the direct communication provided with the machine names. So by which what happens is the client machines needs to be installed with the agent, and we may not be able to push the agent, as you know, because we are not connected to that machine. In such conditions, once you create the remote office, you can see here the download WAN agent. Download this WAN agent, save to your common folder or FTP or cloud drive, share the link to the end users, those who are acted or those who are fall under this roaming user profile, and ask them to install the agent with a simple instruction. The instruction is very simple. All they have to do is download and open the folder, invoke a setup.batch file, which will be inside that folder, that offers you two different menus, like menu 1 to install the WAN agent, menu 2 to exit. So they have to just press 1 to install the agent, and that's it. Once it's installed, it's going to communicate back to the desktop central server for future communication. So that's how we are going to manage the machines on the remote office. Fine. So we have discussed about installing the agent on LAN, WAN, and even the remote office. Well, so going forward, even if you'd like to go and use this desktop central agent for the imaging, so my company is doing imaging of new machines. So in such conditions, so you want the agent to be already incorporated with the image, yes, we can do that. We can do that, and you have an option of going to the admin tab. From the admin tab, we can use the settings of imaging, like we can install the agents using the imaging process. We can do that over from here. Well, and coming back to the computers. So we have successfully created the LAN, WAN with the roaming users. And now I'm just going to give a quick brush up about IP scope. So IP scope is not a mandatory field. It's an optional settings. But still, if you want to use this IP scope, you can make use of the IP scope by providing the remote office name, and you can have it. The advantage of IP scope. So we have two different advantages over here. Number one, if a user is moving from one office to another office, for example, I have a user in New York who is coming to San Francisco for a short-term project. So when the user comes in to the short-term project, the user is now away from the New York office, so the machine is completely isolated. When the user comes to San Francisco office, still whatever configuration I deploy for all the remote office and the domain may not reach that user, and the machine is completely vulnerable now. When I'm going to use this IP scope, so when the user is moving towards the San Francisco, the machine is going to get adapted to the given IP range as soon as the user comes into the San Francisco office. So whatever configuration we deploy to the remote offices and the domain is going to get applied, so the machine is still healthy. Number two, the second advantage of having the IP scope is, so as you know, in all the configurations like patch management, software deployment, everywhere we have an option of defining the target even using the IP range. So if you have an IP range set up over here, we can also deploy the configuration successfully to the IP ranges. So that's about the IP scope. Well, so moving towards the another scenario of scope of management policy. So now I'm successfully managing all my machines across the domain using Desktop Central. And going forward in a course of few months, the company is procuring 10 more machines. So I want to manage those 10 more machines to Desktop Central using Desktop Central, but I don't want to go back to the same old format of adding the machine, installing the agent. So it's something which is an unproductive activity going forward. In such conditions, I want to use this SOM policy, and the SOM policy is going to facilitate me to deploy the agents automatically, and let's see how to do that. Go to the AD sync settings, configure your mail server settings, provide your email address, choose the OU or a domain where you want to apply the operation, and this is going to have a synchronization on everyday basis. So Desktop Central synchronize with your domain controller on everyday basis. Choose the time when you miss. Coming down here, the first feature, If a new machine is added after the synchronization, I'll be getting the notification, so by which I can decide whether I want to manage this machine or not. If I want to manage all the machines, whichever comes inside the domain, I'm going to choose this option. So this helps me to install the agent automatically and notifies me. Similarly, when a machine is removed from the Active Directory, there is no point of having the machine in Desktop Central, which is going to use my license. So according to Desktop Central license model, it's going to be computer-based. So if a machine is removed from AD, the machine is still going to be managed in Desktop Central, which utilizes this license. So when I'm going to remove the machine in AD, this feature set will help you to remove the machines automatically and release the license, so by which I can make use of that license for my future purpose when I'm going to add some more machines. And followed by that, we have an option of notifying the administrator in case if a machine is not in contact. So if a machine is not in contact with X number of days, I'm talking about the client machines where the agent is installed, it will notify me about the status of the machine. So by which it gives me a chance to investigate, to start my investigation to find the reason why the machine is not in contact. In case if I don't want to manage a machine which is not in contact for X number of days, I can choose the above option. So this helps me to remove the machine from the managed list and release the license. So these are the settings which is going to help me to going forward in future if I'm planning to manage machines. And finally, coming down to the settings. So in settings, remember we are talking about installing the agent by pushing it from the console. So when we are pushing it from the console, sometimes some machines may not be in contact due to various reasons of machine might be turned off, not connected to the network, or having some sort of a trouble. So in such conditions, during the time when I'm pushing the agent may not get installed successfully onto those machines. So using this option of settings, I can repeat the agent installation by using this retry agent installation, giving the frequency, how far, like how long I want to deploy this for given frequency provided by the email address. So this will periodically check the status of the machines and it will deploy the agent to the target machines and notifies me accordingly. Fine. So this is all about of setting up Desktop Central and using the scope of management. Fine. And now we are going to move on to the next module of configuration. So before that, if you have any questions regarding the discussed module of scope of management, I would invite you to please post the request through the chat. So we have an expert panel ready to address all the queries. Well, so we are moving forward with the details. So we already discussed about the method of installing the agents. Well, so now we are coming into a configurations part. So let me create another scenario again to make it more easy to understand. So my company is now given everything and all the configurations are going good over here. And now I'm getting a new request from a user to configure a printer. A printer is something which is inevitable in the network in order to use the daily routines. So I'm going to show you how to configure a printer to a new user and to manage. Similarly, how to configure a printer for a department or a group of machines. And later we are going to discuss about the baseline configurations. Like there are certain basic configurations which needs to be configured in an enterprise. So let's see how this baseline could be configured using Desktop Central. And by end of the configuration, we will also discuss about the template-based configurations. Well, so I'm taking you back to the configurations. So in the Desktop Central, you should be able to see a module called configurations. Just click on the configuration. That will show all the configuration, whatever you have created. It will show the view of created by me, the person who has logged into the Desktop Central. And similarly, if you want to see about the other users created configuration, yes, we can go and see the other configurations. Well, and in the left pane, you can see the configuration. When you click on the configuration, it's going to unleash all the information of the configuration available for the Desktop Central. So you can see a whole more than a dozen of configurations over here, and among which now we are going to discuss about IP printer. So this IP printer configuration is going to be a mandatory in every enterprise. So let me take you how to create an IP printer. So I'm just going to create an IP printer configuration for user and computer. And now we have taken this task to create for users. However, most of the configurations over here will be having both user and computer task. You can see over here. So most of the configuration will be having user and computer task. So let me explain about what is the user configuration and what is the computer configuration. A user configuration is going to be applied to a specific user for whom you'd like to select, or a desired user. And this configuration will get applied only if the user is logged on to the machine. And when the user is applied with this configuration, only that user would be able to see the benefit of the configuration. If the user is logging out from the machine, another user logs into that machine, that user will not see this configuration since it's a user-specific configuration. And another advantage which I would like to emphasize is, if I'm going to deploy a configuration for a user in machine A, that configuration will get applied. When the user is moving on to another machine called machine B by later, during the logon process, agent has an intelligence to interact with the server, and it will identify what are the configuration has been applied to this user, and the same configuration is going to get applied on the machine B. So by which it ensures that the user will be having this configuration applied wherever or whichever machine the user is going to take up with. Coming down to the computer configuration. The computer configuration is all about of complete installation on the machine. And it's going to use the system account. As the user configuration uses the user profile, similarly the computer configuration is going to use a system account. So if you're applying a configuration onto a machine, that's going to be applied for all the user who's going to log in and use the machine. Well, so let's go with the computer configuration. So we can go and add the computer configuration over here and choosing the DNS name or the IP printer for the benefit of your time. So I've just created the configuration over here, and I'm going to choose the configuration, and we can use even the search icon if you're having a whole lot of configuration here. And here we go. I got the configuration for the new user. I'm just going to modify and show you how this configuration will look like. Specify the configuration name. By default, it comes up with my configuration with a value. You may remove and you can have your own value, and you can also add some descriptions if you'd like to have something added. Coming down, so this is going to be the print server. So we are having a print server, so by which I'm just pointing it to the print server, and choose the printer name, which printer you're planning to provide to the user for the task. And even if the user has another printer already exist, we may overwrite it by selecting this option and choose the protocols accordingly. So these are all the default protocols. Coming down here, we are going to share the printer driver installation because a printer is already installed. We can go to the specific machine, right-click share, and we can provide that link over here. Else, if you have a dedicated print server, you may provide that share path over here. So the objective here is this will help to contact or reach to that specific machine or the print server, collect the drivers, and use this driver for the given user. And you may also select the default printer. In case if the print server or the machine where you're pointing seems to be on the different domain, you may not be able to access. Yes, we have given you the permission to go access using the user credentials. And coming down, it's time to choose the target. So I'm just going to choose the target of the whole domain. We have a whole lot of options to choose based upon the remote office and the domain. You can choose according to your choices. Once it's chosen, you can just click on the funnel icon. So this will help us to show to whom we want to use it. So as already I'm going to use for the user, I know the user name, like it's going to be Mark. So I'm just choosing that user and coming down. If I want to exclude anything, I can also go ahead and exclude any machine. In case if I'm choosing it for the complete group, I can also exclude some machines. Coming down, I'm selecting this option of apply this configuration at every logon. The reason because this is going to be a registry settings. So when the user is changing some sort of settings, in case if the user has a privilege, on the next logon, again, this will overwrite the settings in order to make things work as you expect. Coming down, retry this configuration on failed target. So we have a combination of 10 different combinations. So you may choose according to your choice to retry this configuration during the failed targets, and followed by notifying. I can provide my email address. So I cannot sit in front of this configuration to look after that, okay, whether it's getting applied or not, because I'm not sure whether the user is logged onto the machine or not. So my job is to create the task and deploy to the target user. But still, I need the notification. I need the status of this configuration, whether this configuration is completed or not. So I can go ahead and use this enable notification. So this will notify me to the list. So by which I can deploy it, and this will get deployed to the target user successfully. And you can see the list of status. What is the status of the configuration? And it's a self-explanatory. You have a help card provided over here. So you can just go through this help card to make things understandable. Okay. So this is going to help me to manage the network. Now, I'm going to use the IP printer configuration for a group. So that's what we are going to discuss on the second thing. So I'm going to deploy this for a specific department or a group. Well, I can go ahead and do that, but as you see here, I'm having a whole lot of configuration, so it's very hard for me to go trace the specific configurations. So in such conditions, I'm going to use the filter of configuration. I'm going to choose the IP printer. Here we go. It has shown only the IP printer, which is filtered. Now my choice is to go and deploy to a group, a department. It could be either user or computer. Since we already discussed with the user, I'm just going to take you to the department-wise. So here we go. I'm having already it has been deployed to a machine. I'm going to use the same configuration to deploy to a group. So I'll go ahead. I'm not going to create a new task. I'm going to clone this task using this option. So where I can also modify, I can even suspend the task. And whatever machines did not come and pick the task, those machines will get suspended with a task in case if you want to suspend and want to move the trash. You don't want to show up this executed status over here. You want to move it to the trash so that you want to have only the live status of the configurations. Yes, we can use this trash. And now we are going to deal with the save as new, which is going to be cloned. And we are going to use the without target information with the fail target. So it's going to create a task without specifying any target. So here we go. And I have the printer deployment with a suffix of copy. So the same configuration, it's shown over here, which is given the details, but without the targets. So now I can rename it. Coming down, I don't want to do any changes because everything is as per the requirement. Now I'm going to choose for my domain and selecting the funnel. I'm just going to the custom group. You can also use it for a specific group. And I'm going to choose this for the custom group. I'm selecting my marketing team over here. Coming down, if I have any exclusion, for example, I have a machine in the marketing team which is going to be a server where I don't want to apply this. Yes, I can use this machine to provide. You can see here, I can exclude it. So this configuration will get applied to the whole custom group except the machine which is also a part of a custom group. Coming down, I can deploy the configuration as it is. So it's going to use the deploy. In computer configuration, you may see deploy, which use based upon the 90 minutes refresh policy. And if you're going to use deploy immediately, this is going to be used with the help of a notification server. So Desktop Central deals with the notification server, which is run on port 8027. So this will help the agent to come and pick the task instead of waiting for 90 minutes. So this process will be more swift compared to the normal deploy. And even if you don't want to deploy this, you want to save it as a draft and you want to execute at later time when it's convenient for you, yes, you can save it as a draft. So by which I have created a configuration and I'm done with the job. Well, So moving forward, we are now going to discuss about the baseline configuration, so which we already had in the agenda. So I'm going to the baseline configuration. So over here, I could see the baseline config, and I'm just going to use this baseline configuration. I'm modifying the task. So this baseline configuration is nothing but, so far we have dealt with the configuration, just a simple configuration, selecting either one and deploying it. We do have something called collections. A collection is nothing but a group of configurations which could be created in a single task. You may use this for a user configuration, and you may also use for the computer configuration. So now we are going to use with a baseline configuration. So in an enterprise, there are certain basic configuration needs to be applied. For example, display, the screensaver, and it should be displayed, and the display settings, the screensaver, the wallpaper, and the browsers. So taking you further, selecting what are the basic configuration you want, I'm moving towards the next option. So here we go. I want to set up a wallpaper for the company. Yes, I can go ahead and choose the wallpaper. I can select the positions about the wallpaper with a given feature set. And I can even retain the existing permission, or I can go further with a new permission set. If I want to do some sort of a screensaver, I can even retain an existing screensaver, or I can disable it. I can create a new screensaver by choosing the screensaver file, the .scr file, and similarly the wait operation, the wait time, and how to resume it further. So everything is going to be as simple. So after choosing all these activities, I'm moving further to the drive mapping. So definitely I need to have a common share folder in my network in order to use for all the users to store their documents, because I don't want to provide any information on their machine. So I want to keep everything in the D drive, or else there are another scenario like I may be having a lot of other documents which cannot be given to all users. So I can just give the share permission to the user. So likewise, I can make use of it. So you can choose the drive name, provide to which resource it's going to be mapped. And since I'm going to use this for all the users, so I can just providing a variable name by which it is going to be applied to the targets automatically. And you can also have the other preferences to skip the mapping if it's already exists, or if you want to override the existing drive, yes. And if you have some drives already mapped, you want to disconnect all existing network drives before mapping new, yes, we can do everything. And then we are moving on to the browser. So browser settings. So we have a browser settings over here. You can choose your appropriate default web browser here and provide a common home page, a common search engine, download directory where you want to store everything. And in case it has any kind of a common proxy, provide all the details, the trusted, restricted sites, everything you can provide over here. And you can go further, make it. And finally, it's coming up with the Wi-Fi settings. I'm going to choose the Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi profile, and you can see here about the Wi-Fi profile. So selecting the profile security type and everything, and I'm going to choose this, and going further, selecting to whom I want to deploy. So it's going to be the user. So I'll be choosing all the users, and I can go ahead and install to the target machine. So by which we can successfully achieve this activities. Well, finally, in the configuration, we're going to discuss about using templates, how to secure the desktops. Well, so as a scenario to make it more clear, so my company is going for an audit, a security audit, a desktop policy security audit, in which the machines should be completely locked, with the desktop should be locked with a stipulated time limit. In such conditions, I don't need to go create something new, because Desktop Central helps me to have everything over here, which is called the templates. A templates is nothing but a predefined configuration. So far, we were dealing with the configuration by creating everything manually. Here we have everything listed for your choice. You can go ahead, you can get the things based upon your choice, like whether it's going to deal with some Internet Explorer, network type, or a patch management. You can have a whole lot of categories which you can choose. And now I'm just going to use this auto lock PCs. I don't need to do anything. I'm simply clicking on the create configuration, which is already created actually. So you can see here, everything is as it is. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose my whole domain to deploy it. That's it. I'm not going to do anything. And here, it has been predefined. Since it's a predefined template, it has been given with the 60 minutes of value. It's a registry tweak. According to our company policy, we should have only 45 minutes of value. Yes, I can do this option. I can go, I can deploy it, and by which the security policy will get applied successfully. And by going forward, if I need to revert it back, I can modify the same configuration. After the security audit, I can come back, I can change this settings back to the 60 minutes. And again, if I want to import any registry files which has already been tweaked and kept ready, yes, I can also use the registry file from this location. So this is all about of configurations. And we do have another configurations like custom scripts. So you can execute your custom scripts for users and computers. And we provide you a script repository to help you to use the script repository. We have 140 plus scripts provided here. You just search, get the details about what you want. You'll be having a whole lot of scripts. So search and make use of this. This is going to help you to save much of your time. All you have to do is, for example, if I just want to block an exe file using a batch file, I'm just going to add it to the repository. When I go to the repository, I can see that I can make use of this, and I can even modify the scripts. I can edit the script. I can edit the script according to my choice with certain values, and I can make use of it. So this is how it's going to help me to manage the configurations well. So by which we are going to come to the end of the configuration part. So if you have any questions in configuration, I would recommend you to please raise your request. And we are going forward with the next configuration of USB device management. So when it comes to the USB device management, USB device is one of the most common and important way of data transfer in a network or in a company. So especially using these USB devices, there are a lot of vulnerable activities may happen. A threat could come into the network. So my company asked me to block the USB port in all the computers. I cannot block the USB port because if I block the USB ports, the other activities which you can make use of with this USB port, like connecting your mouse or a keyboard or connecting to the printer, any other activity which could be done with the USB port cannot be functioned properly. So I'm going to use desktop central device management in order to make use to block the USB ports for a specific device. So let's see that inside the USB device management, and follow that we are also going to discuss about how to exclude a specific group of users or computers using the USB device, and also to allow only the managers category to use the encrypted devices. So let me take you back to the product here, and again we are reaching to the configurations of the left pane. Click on the configuration. Here we go. We have the secure USB. So I'm just going to the secure USB for user and computer. So I'm choosing the computer. Coming down, I can specify the configuration name. So here we go with a list of USB types. Blocking the complete USB port. As you know, it's a one common port. Blocking it will completely disable everything. So according to me, I have figured out the USB transactions are happening. I mean, the data transactions are happening with the help of a USB devices, especially with the pen drives, thumb drives, and the external hard drives. So I just want to block it for the sake of protecting my network. And I'm going to use the disk drive. And you can see help part, which explains you what are the devices which could be blocked for this disk drive. So I'm choosing the disk drive and selecting it block. Coming down, I'm choosing my whole domain. That's it. I'm done with the job. It will be deployed, and again, I am going to apply this configuration on every startup, even if any user has the admin privilege. If they are going to change certain values in the registry, again, I can apply, and I'm just deploying it. That's it. It's deployed. Now, as an administrator, I have some responsibilities. Like I do have an external hard drive where I need to take a backup of my local servers, which I need to do that on a periodic basis, like twice in a week, for example. Even I cannot use this USB devices. In such condition, Desktop Central helps me to go with the exclusion option. I'm going to use an exclusion device by providing the device instance ID. For example, I'm using a 2 TB Seagate hard drive. I need to punch in the device instance ID. So how to get the device instance ID details? No worries. Click on the Learn More, which gives you a clear visibility with the pictorial graph, how to go fetch the device instance ID. And this is going to be a unique device instance ID, which is also known as the hardware ID. I'm going to use this for my device. I'm going to add it. That's it. It's going to get added. And so by which my device alone is accessible across the network. So I can go and plug in. I can do a data transfer or any kind of activities relevant to the company. Now, similarly, in case if the company provides a specific device to a group of people or to the IT team or to all of the company, so you want to exclude only a device based upon its specific vendor, yes, we can go ahead and use this option. And remember, we are talking about of allowing the encrypted devices. So the managers are having the encrypted devices. I want to add those encrypted devices to be allowed. Yes, we can go here and add the encrypted devices over here. So by which we can achieve it. And going forward, I want to exclude my managers because my managers and the top management guys are using the USB ports. I don't want to bother them because they're not going to have any kind of file systems to be transferred. And I'm going to use this option of exclude here. So I'm just going to choose a custom group where I already have my managers added. I'm going to choose this group and deploy it. That's it. It will be deployed to the target machine. And once it's deployed to the target machine, so this drive will be blocked for all the users, like all the computers, I'm sorry, in the whole domain except my managers. So by which I can achieve. And similarly, if I want to revert to anything, it's very simple, no need to make anything, just revoke all the settings for the USB and all the settings will be completely reverted back to square one. So you may also use this option to help yourself. So by which we are coming to the end of the USB device management. So if you have any questions on the USB device management, please post it across. Well, so we have come to the end of the configuration. We are now entering into the scenarios and solutions part. So let's discuss about the scenarios and solution, which has been happened in most of the enterprise. And we're going to take this opportunity to discuss to how to handle the situation using Desktop Central. Let's go ahead. Number one, we rely completely on Desktop Central for our system management and we cannot afford downtime. So what should we do? So meaning that I don't want to compromise on my data and the functionality of Desktop Central. Yes, we have a solution which is called Failover Server, which is going to be an add-on in Desktop Central. You can make use of the Failover Server, and this is going to have another server with the database. It's going to share the information onto another server, and it's going to concurrently function. If anything happened to the primary server, the secondary servers take over from there, and you can go to the admin tab in order to see the failover server settings. And we have the prerequisite, and we have a failover server configuration guide, which may help you to go further on this. Fine. So number two, we have thousands of configurations in Desktop Central, and it has become unmanageable. Is there a way out? Yeah, definitely. So we have a reporting model. If you go to the configurations, we have something called configuration reports. So you can choose the reports based upon option. If you want to look after only the configuration based upon the users, yes, you can go ahead and use this option. If you want to search for computers by configuration by computers, yes, you can go ahead, and even by type, you can go and get the details. So this could be created as a report. Similarly, you may also use the same method which I was showing you, the configuration type. So you can see here. So you have a lot of configuration created, but you do not know which configuration it is, but you know that it's going to be a kind of a dry mapping configuration, but you do not know where it is since it shows a whole lot of configuration here. Yeah, this is the best way to go on filter based upon your choice, and you can choose and go ahead with the work. Scenario 3, some of our computers go unmanaged quite often. Is there a way to fix this? Well, so especially when there is a user, like your roaming users or any user who has a admin privilege in your network, they may go ahead and uninstall the agent from the add remove program. So in such conditions, the computers will go unmanaged and you're completely stumbled. You may not have any opportunity to manage that machine at all. In such conditions, we have an option in admin going to the agent settings. You could see here there are two restrictions which we have given for the scenario. So you can achieve according to the choice. So you may choose this uninstall the agent from control panel. This will restrict the user. Even if the user is an admin privilege, the user may not go and uninstall an agent. And even if the user, if the user is more smart, even the user can go and disable the service of agent, which is mere to disabling the agent. Even that could be prevented by selecting the second option of stopping the desktop central agent service, so by which you can achieve the requirement. Moving forward to the scenario 4, make sure your users recognize the application. So it's just nothing but, as you know, as soon as you install the desktop central agent and the desktop central console, you can see here the console looks with the desktop central 10, and especially with the agent I'm talking about, it will be looking with the desktop central icon. So that icon is going to be more fishy for the users. Okay, by seeing that, they'll be more fishy. Okay, what's happening in the machine? Some new icon is running in the background, so that could be hacking something or any kind of a question. So you may answer them by creating a rebranding option. So come to the admin tab, you have an option of rebranding. So you can choose your own company banner and the logo for the agent, and you can transfer. And you have an option of what should be the size along with the pixel rate. It's given over here. So it looks like this. And this is how it looks like for the agent side. So the agents, like the users, will see this icon and they'll be familiar about the company logo. Well, so moving forward to the scenario 5. All of our users should be able to easily access a common share folder for clipboards and design files. How I can achieve this? So we have discussed this more number of times in this training. We are going to use the drive mapping to use this option. Scenario 6. I want Desktop Central to use the available system resources effectively for improved performance. What should I do? Well, we have a setting under the admin by which you can come and you can make your DB optimization by providing the percentage. So this helps you to consume the memory based upon the choice what you're choosing. It should be in the percentage, and that helps you to manage your resources effectively. Scenario 7. I need to get information about an asset even when I'm away from my desk. Is this possible? Well, definitely. So think that I'm going on a vacation where I'm not carrying my laptop to access my network, but still I need to get in touch with the network. I want to see what things are happening in my office, especially with the desktop central, because I'm the desktop central administrator. So though I'm in vacation, still I have my mind working towards the network. So in such conditions, I'm going to use my mobile device to make use of it. So here we go. Download the apps. We have a specific app for iOS as well as Android. Download the apps and it'll look like this. So you may go ahead, use this option to quickly check out what things are happening in terms of your network vulnerability with the patches, and you can make use of it. Fine. Well, let's go to the scenario 8. I want to restrict a technician to only access asset data. How can I do this? So meaning that I want to restrict a technician to handle only certain activities in Desktop Central. Yes, we have a user-based administration process in Desktop Central. You can come to the admin. You can see under the user administration. Coming down to the user administration, By default, the product comes with one technician license, admin. If you procure new users, you can make use of it. You can map that user to your AD authentication as well as local authentication. If it is AD authentication, you can choose your domain and select which user you want to have, and you may also choose the role as an IT manager, and you can even allow the user to whom they want to control, like all the machines or a static unique group, which is nothing but a custom group. In custom group in Desktop Central, we have an option to create static unique, which is nothing but a group of given computers in the domain will be used to be managed. Or else you can choose a specific remote office to manage. So you can allow this to go ahead. In case if you're not interested with this given predefined roles, you are allowed to go and create your own role, specifying your own definition and choose how this has to be handled. Well, scenario 9, due to some business reasons, we are unable to host Desktop Central Server in our own network. Is there any alternate solution? So which is nothing but indirectly, we are looking into the cloud-based solution. So my company has a policy not to have Desktop Central in on-premise, so I need to host it to the cloud in order to manage all my network. Yes, definitely we can do that. So we have a provision over here in order to make use the AWS marketplace like Amazon, or else you can also host it to the Microsoft Azure marketplace. So by which we can go and use it. So you can just click on that, which will take you to the site in order to access the details. Fine. Well, so now moving on to the next option. Questions. So question number 1, does Desktop Central allow you to block USB devices for particular IP range? Definitely it's possible, as we already discussed. You can go to the specific secure USB port and you can do this for an IP range. You can see here. You can have it for an IP range. Question number 2, can website security certificates be deployed to workstations and to multiple browsers? Yes, of course. You can make use of this admin tab and you can import the SSL certificate to do that. Question number 3, some keyboards and monitors have embedded USB ports. Will those ports also be blocked despite having the keyboard and mouse options excluded from the block USB? Yes, in such conditions, we recommend you to go and choose the secure USB port and always choose the disk drive. So disk drive will be completely blocked irrespective of it is accessed directly to the laptop or workstation or else from the keyboard. Question number 4, can the 90 minutes refresh policy be changed? It's always recommended to have the 90 minutes refresh policy in standard, since this helps you to manage your network without any kind of a network congestion or network overhead. So that's the reason we would like to have this 90 minutes refresh policy. And this helps you to keep the setup smooth, safe as you expect. Question number 5. When does the configuration gets deleted? Is it based on the status of the configuration? Well, the configuration cannot be deleted by itself, but still you can make use of the configuration settings and you can enable a configuration to trash if it is going to be a specific days or if they are not unused. The configuration is not unused for X number of days. You can make use of it. So by which it will be stored in the trash, you can see here. And even if you want to manually move it, yes, we can go ahead. We can manually select and move it to the trash. And that will be moved to the trash. And from the trash, you can see all the details. From here, if you would like to delete any trash, yes, we can go and delete. Else you want to restore the trash, yes, we can restore the trash back to the configurations setup, and that is going to show the configuration back again. Well, question number 6. If you configure a set of restricted sites in a collection wizard but don't select a web browser, does the restriction apply to their default web browser or all the web browsers? So if you're not configuring restricted sites to a default web browser, so whatever the browser is chosen, that will get applied in the browser settings. So if you're not choosing a default browser, so whatever browser you're choosing here, it will get applied automatically. Question number 7, is it required to move to the distribution server to edge or public communication? Yes, of course. If you'd like to have a distribution server move to the edge, for example, you have an user who's under a remote office who's been managed, and only that user might go away from office for different location. However, I'm not having any roaming users in my network. Please make a note, I'm not having any roaming user, but I have a specific user who might go often out of office for some business purpose. In such conditions, I can go ahead, make my remote office exposed to the public in order to manage. For example, I am just modifying my remote office, and you can see here, you have an option of providing a fully qualified domain name. So if I provide a fully qualified domain name, so even if the user is out of office, traveling to different locations, not connected through VPN, through the medium of internet connectivity, still all the configurations will be collected from the distribution server, since I have made my distribution server to be reachable for public. Well, so we have come to the end of this configuration training, and trust this would have helped you a lot to understand about Desktop Central and its configuration. So if you're happy on this, rate us on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is going to be the best of it. And I would recommend you to please go ahead and spread a word about Desktop Central by tagging yourself onto the social media. And our next training schedule is going to happen on June 14th of the given time. So I would request you to please come over here and look into the integration part of how Desktop Central is going to work with Service Plus in order to achieve most of the things which you'd like to have. And moreover, the Desktop Central console could be even accessed inside the Service Plus without switching over the tabs. Well, once again, thank you very much for all your active participation, and trust the training helped you a lot to know more about Desktop Central. And do please check with us for your questions, queries, and you may also contact us to the support in order to get in touch with us for any kind of questions, and we are here to help and glad to do that for you. And once again, thank you for your active participation. You all have a great day. Thank you.